If you're watching this video, you've probably purchased a video game. Yeah, like that one right there. However, today I'm not going to be talking about the game. I'm going to be talking about the packaging, so you can go and throw that one away. The packaging is one of the most important parts of marketing. This goes for movies, music, and really any physical media. People want something they can recognize, like a familiar character's face for something they already like, or maybe some cool looking design or something along those lines. Just something that they can really remember. A lot of times the box art will differentiate after every title, and other times you'll just have the mainline Fallout series where the only thing they ever really changed was the angle and sometimes the version of the power armor the guy on the front was wearing. Having a good eye-catching cover is integral to selling any piece of media. I ask myself how my last videos could have flopped when I look at the god-awful thumbnails, and when even you don't want to click on them, you know you fucked something up. Sometimes the game's art won't be very good, but occasionally games will make up for it by having a good alternative cover if you switch it around. One of my favorite instances of this is the Sonic Origins, where if you flip it around it looks like a Sega Genesis case, and that's really cool and really cute, and it gets my mind off the fact that there's a man with a gun behind me. Another one I like is the Final Fantasy VII remake that changes it to become just a simple black background. I think it looks very nice personally for what it is. I could go on about those because there's a lot of other games that have it. Sonic Mania had the same one as Sonic Origins. Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 also had reversible covers. I don't know about Splatoon 1 because I never owned a physical copy of that game, but it's still a fun little thing to look into. Just opening up boxes of just opening game boxes and looking into them and seeing if they have any unique reversible covers like that. They can be a lot more memorable than just the original box art designs, but sometimes you'll have original box art that's even more iconic than anything else. Speaking of, some of the most memorable game covers for me would have to be Fallout New Vegas and Halo 3. Master Chief's armor and the NCR Ranger helmet are both iconic designs recognizable by anyone in their respective fan bases, and sometimes even outside them. Even my grandpa knows who Master Chief is. No, grandpa, that's raw cadmium! Most games you find will come in standard plastic cases nowadays. Of course, you also had the older retro generations that had their games in cardboard boxes that most of the time would just rot away after a few years, unfortunately. Sometimes you can grab them in more pristine condition, but those are a lot rarer because most people back in those days weren't really collecting them. They either threw them away or they just rotted away because of lack of care to their boxes, which is completely reasonable. I don't think a lot of people back then really cared. But now, of course, the norm is plastic cases, which don't rot away and are also less of a fire hazard. Of course, nowadays you have the more expensive steelbook covers that chip really fucking easily somehow, even though I rarely ever touch the goddamn case. But for the most part, games come in these plastic boxes here. These games come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some games in bigger cases, smaller ones, and whatever the hell this is. Another type of game packaging that you used to see a lot back in the day, more like the early 2010s, were these big Toys to Life boxes that came with the game. Usually 2 or 3 figures came in the box, something to put said figures on to transfer them into the game, and a cord for it all. There were also other types of packaging similar to this by Nintendo, featuring some games that came with an amiibo figure included, mainly during the Wii U era. This trend kind of died out in recent years as Toys to Life, that trend sort of dissipated. Of course, with the occasional amiibo release still happening every so often, mainly for a new Nintendo game that can use it. They're never really bundled together anymore though. But I always look back at this era with fondness. I liked going through the Toys R Us section and seeing all these characters lining the shelves. It was really a different time. Something else you'll see every now and then is a double pack or just a bundle of multiple games in general. Usually it's like both of the year's Pokemon games put into one package for convenience's sake. I only ended up buying the Sword and Shield one, and I never ended up touching Shield because that game was boring, but at least I got a free banner for getting the game. Nintendo's version of the double pack is a cardboard box with just the cases for both games in it separately, rather than what most other companies do with just a case and multiple discs or a cartridge or in a download code for whatever other games are featured inside the box. For the Pokemon bundle, it did come with ways to download Pokemon to the game that would be from the other one. I have no clue. I genuinely just don't remember what came in it because I don't have it anymore. But it came with some other DLC code. It didn't come with the expansion pass though, because of course it didn't. But it did come with some other downloadable content exclusive to the double pack. Oh man, all these games in one package for a bargain price. That's awesome. God damn it. Yeah, the one cartridge with downloads for a bunch of other games in one package is a big thing on the Switch, like with the Borderlands collection. You have the first game on the cartridge, and then it comes with Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel on a download code. Or there's the Metal Gear Solid collection, which immediately places all 6 of the games featured on your home screen, which is really oddly satisfying to me for some reason. And then other times you have Overwatch. Now that it's free to play, you don't ever see this game anywhere physically, but you also don't see a goddamn cartridge in the box. The full game was on a download code, only essentially giving you one pointless box on your shelf to take up space. It's just a waste of materials, really, and it's so odd to me why they do that. Because on the Xbox version, it came with the disc. Did Blizzard really have to cut corners like that to take out the cartridge? It's almost like they were too busy sexually harassing female employees for multiple years instead of manufacturing cartridges. Fortnite does this too. I mean, the selling the game packaging only part. Instead of getting the game, since it was free to begin with, you get a certain pack that you can already purchase in the game for the same price that it sells for in-game, only now you have a physical case for it. Now I can finally show my friends that I don't fuck around about Transformers. I have Fortnite on my shelf now. Look at that spine. Oh yeah, speaking of spines, and not because this is an episode about scoliosis, that's coming next month. It is always nice to see a full shelf of God, I really need to apply for a real job, don't I? And immediately know which game is which based on the label of the spine. Yep, that's LEGO Star Wars, alright. But something that I see a lot in regards to game spines is sometimes they'll have a stylized logo, or they'll just have plain default text, or just some weird amalgamation of the two that's like in between, and it's just weird. This trend isn't new and has been happening for quite a few years and quite a few generations, but it is really odd every time I look at the Japanese and American versions of Signalis and say, was that really necessary? It could be a lot worse. Like the packaging from used game stores. It just looks gross seeing a game on your shelf and then with the right packaging and everything, and then looking and seeing this GameStop packaging that just has this. It isn't a huge deal. I could always just reprint the original packaging, but I don't care enough to, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. You win this time. Some consoles change their packaging later through their console's life. The Xbox 360 definitely had more subtle changes, but the PS3 had drastic changes to their design. During the early lifespan of the PS3, it had this red box on the spine and the logo on the left side of the box, which made them look almost like PlayStation 1 boxes, which is cute when you ignore the fact that it uses the Spider-Man font on it. Side tangent aside, look at this box. So nice to look at. That's why I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself. Yeah, I'm not really sure why they decided to change their box design to look more like the PS4's when the PS4 was pretty much on the horizon or already out by this point, which was the very, very late point in the PS3's life. The black design for the PS3 boxes was actually pretty nice looking, but they just decided to change it to this weird blue one, which is identical to the PS4's. They later changed this with the PS5. PS5 has a white looking thing, and this is kind of just what they stuck with and have been sticking with ever since this black design that they had. Some games release on other platforms and will have different art or different packaging that either fit with the new console that it's being ported over to, or to just say fuck it, let's make something else. In other cases, some games have completely different cases in other countries, and it's always some funky ass change, like how the case for Signalis we got in America was a black color fitting the game's theme more and looking much nicer to look at, while the other version was this retina burning red, and it's also a different shade than the spine and Nintendo Switch logo, which doesn't show up on camera as well, but my god is it a nightmare of a case designed for someone with OCD. My favorite case that's different in other countries is the German version of Pet's Crazy Monkeys. What have they done to you? For some reason they opted to, instead of using this creative box that the US version had, they used the most ugly ass box art they could have. And they used these shitty stock PNGs, which to be fair, I'm pretty sure that the other case for the game had stock monkey pictures, but those stock monkey pictures were cool and awesome. And those were some cool ass monkeys. But this one, they just look horrible. You picked the worst PNGs of monkeys. And I could tell I've lost it because I'm arguing over fucking monkey games on the Wii. I can't really think of anything else on the top of my head, but it's always funny to... What the fuck?